people think about SEO, and you got to go back to fundamentals and the understanding of all this. And I guess big takeaways for me is that people really don't understand what branding is.
Right.
And
people still think of branding as it's like your logo or your name or
and
something like that.
Google has basically judges you based upon the concept of a brand.
Right.
And the signals of what a brand would be. So, and I thought about this a little more the other day. I'll get into some. This is interesting for this category stuff only. But like if you're the algorithm and you're tapping into AI, your sentient mega machine at Google, and you're like, hey, what would be the perfect way to judge a company? Like, well, the best companies that ever existed were brands. Well, what's a brand? And so, well, that's something that has this omnipresence and, people know about it. Signals come in. They like it. They go to their websites. And so you start...
It becomes synonymous with the product or synonymous with the service.
As opposed to somebody just trying to trick Google with pages. I just got off the phone with a guy who had an 818-page website. I had two stories. I'll tell two stories about this. And if someone's misunderstanding of the concept of a brand and that the brand is the stinking SEO, if you don't want to have to pay for every lead or every click and die and have this crappy life.
Right.
One guy was like, well, I got a good guy at Fiverr, and he's so cheap. I was like, well, you got what you paid for.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I was like, you got a 818-page website full of nonsense that got penalized by Google, and it's a horrible brand that they hate, which is why you called. The only reason I went kind of hard on him is because he called me and then started touting how great this cheap guy was.
Yeah. He started touting the guy that is doing so badly that he felt like he had to call you.
Yeah, and a guy that takes the idea of SEO and spams it, and in case people don't know the statistic, I like throwing it out there, that 96.55% of pages written for Google are never viewed by a human. Ever. So the idea that a business owner has and a plumber has is like, I'll trick Google.
Yeah.
I'll give them hordes of cruddy content. The concept doesn't come in, and it's such a nuanced change and a shift of thought, is that why don't I become a good brand and a good place for a user to happen upon and send good brand signaling out to Google? And that's my new thought of SEO, which is what it is. But you guys are throwing up trash, getting somebody out of Fiverr. Yeah. 818 pages. Now, this was an extreme example of it, I might add.
I don't think we've had one that extreme in a good 6 months.
A little bit. I see them. No, I see them quite a bit.
Okay.
A lot of times.
Okay. You probably filter them out before I
Yeah, a lot of times they're extreme spammers, can't get off it, don't understand the concept of a brand, that the brand is the SEO, the brand is the concept for showing up on Google.
Right.
And I get done with the conversation, people say, but do you do SEO? And I'll be like, yeah, sure, we do SEO better than anybody you've ever had.
Yeah.
If that's what you're going to keep calling it.
I've had clients who have been with us for like 6 months who call and say, do you guys do SEO? I said, that's everything we do.
Yeah.
And I have to go through the whole thing again. And I know you've already told them everything I'm telling them, but I'm having to tell them again.
That was the other one. I have these calls all the time, but do you do SEOs? Yeah. It's a brand signal nowadays. So it was that way in 2024. It's even more that way in 2025, and you're getting penalized and drugged through the muck. And anybody who had trouble in 2024 is in violation of, or just so apathetic on their signaling that they don't show up in ranking.
Yeah.
But we'll probably pick up another client that I just talked to earlier, and the guy with 818 pages, by the way, is not his fault. He just paid somebody that claimed they were going to do an old school advertising technique on it, and like he was on billboards and TV and everything else. So,
oh Lord,
you get a hold of that guy, you better dig deep, and then they're going to ruin your online presence, which they did.
Yeah,
and now he gets 0 calls off of his website. So you brand your company by sending out digital branded signaling that you think of as SEO, which is a slight difference. Instead of trying to trick Google with blogs and trash content and links out of the country, we did a job here. Yes, a review, but it can't just be a review because it's such a one-sided thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that have up a basic cheap website like you all do that's either left there with apathy or spammed out the wazoo.
And those are the extremes, either complete apathy or spammed out the wazoo. There's very rarely do we see the proper effort.
It's almost never anything else. Yeah. So it's either you put up a website and it laid there stagnant and apathy and you got reviews. But the the plumber looks at it and says, well, I just want maps to show up. And you go, well, maps show up because you have a good brand.
Right.
Like the website's basis and part of this. And then I'm going to get into LSA, and I'm going to talk about paid ads too in a minute. But 75% of people roughly clicking on a non-paid item, it's a better lead. They've bought into the brand because they've seen the website and the reviews and the DataPins and everything else with it.
Right.
And then you show up in ranking because of brand signaling, and Google thinks you're a good place to show people. And the map shows up now because you have page content for it, but people don't want to attend to their websites anymore, and then they don't show up in mapping, and they call and wonder why they don't show up.
And you will not show up in mapping for a broad range of keywords
Right.
without stuff on the website indicating that you want to.
Right.
Google won't just give you stuff.
Because the people that end on the map, which is all you think they do, but they do more
Right.
than just they click on the websites, but they'll end up on the website and have a poor user experience.
Yeah.
Which would be bad. All right, so that's how stuff shows up, and it's the big show. It's where the phone rings daily. And one last little thing on it before I go into some paid stuff. Anybody in your market, if you type them in, the largest people are still on Google. I wonder why. Because Google gives them most of their leads, the lion's share of them. Google, Bing, other stuff. That's how you show up. That's how the stuff works.